All right, so this is our Thursday podcast. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. All you guys who are live, thank you so much for joining us. By the way, I've got news later on I'm going to give you, as a matter of fact. Last time we talked to Jon Gabriel, there were idiots with antlers running around the Capitol building, and it was a fairly off-putting day. But you guys know him. I know a lot of you guys are listeners of Jon Gabriel's, of the Undisputed King of Stuff, his podcast. He's editor-in-chief of Ricochet, and he's a columnist for the Arizona Republic as well. Jon, welcome back.
Great to be on. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. So I just want to get started. This week, more than almost any other week, there are a lot of people telling me what to do. So in Connecticut, there's legislation where they want to make sure that 12-year-olds can get vaxxed, the COVID vax, without their parents' consent, which is just really activists saying, I want to make sure your kid gets vaxxed. Right. And in Davos, they're telling me I can't live like we used to since there's a great reset. So our bettors are telling us there we can't do that. And then the NHL is telling us that we have to have, that players have to wear a special pride jersey and show that they're all in. Didn't the left used to be the classically liberal live and let live party, Jon?
Yeah, I think they were until they figured out they actually had some power, and then they just tried to shut everyone down. That's the thing that's so jarring for people like me. You know, I'm a Gen Xer, and I grew up with the hippies. Let's just get along, everybody be at peace. And just, it's weird over the course of my life to see them turn into the oppressor, the intolerant ones. Get on board, do exactly as we want you to. So it's really frustrating, but more and more, it seems like people in general, whether politically leaning or not, they've just had enough. And they're just saying, look, we're done. We're tired of this. And it seems like the more of these people that stand up to the mob and to the cancelers, I think the stronger other people feel about, no, I'm just not going to do that anymore.
And I think, you know, I had obviously asked both you and Alice, since you're both Orthodox Christians, I'd asked you to wear pride paraphernalia tonight. Neither of you are complying either. It's interesting to see this with this hockey player, that he was, not only did he stand up to it, he said, no, I'm Orthodox. That's not within my belief system. That's it. Next question. Mm-hmm. It's like, I guess that's the formula, right? Don't give him anything.
Right. He's like, I'll talk about playing. I'll answer hockey related questions, but it's not really an issue. And it was good too. He's like, look, I respect everyone's choices, and my choice is not to wear the pride jersey. It's like, there's no way that you can defeat that by calling him rude or intolerant or anything like that. It really is, this has, sadly, this wokeness has become kind of like a replacement religion in many ways. And you must bow down before not even their beliefs, but almost the belief of the day. A couple of years ago, why didn't you make your Instagram, why didn't you put up a black flag for Black Lives Matter? 3 months later, no one remembered that anymore. Then it was, why don't you have this certain ribbon for climate change? Why are you so intolerant? Then everybody forgot that. Then you needed the Ukraine flag. Then after that, now you need the pride flag. It's just this rotating list of requirements that just come out of nowhere. And they just expect everybody to fall in line. And the more and more people who don't fall in line and just like, no, I'm going to do my own thing. And, you know, I don't even have to research or care much about the issue. Maybe it's growing up in a place like Arizona where you just kind of have this contrarianism. When, you know, someone says, if I'm walking through a hallway in an office building and I see a sign that says wet paint on the walls, I've never touched that wall before, but I'm touching it because I saw the wet paint sign. It's just this weird little thing I have. It's like, you can't tell me what to do. And it doesn't even matter at this point if I agree with something. It's like, no, I will do something if I want to do something. And I don't know why anyone would have a problem with that.
But it's so interesting, Jon. It's like, we're up in New England, near Boston. That was the spirit of, you know, you're not going to quarter British troops in the house. No, you're not going to seize our guns. And now we're completely, every single lawn has a hate has no home here. Saying we are all now.
Well, right. It's funny you use that phrase, fall into line, because one of our friends used that the other day. They sent us a text from their town where one of the biggest liberal activists, like the day after the gas stove stuff happened, had her gas stove on Facebook Marketplace to sell it. And our friend was like falling right into line. Like, it's just always the thing of the week. Like, they just go right along. And if you don't, then you're the bad guy.
Right. Well, it's funny too, because we were in Chicago for about a week in the summer, had a lovely time. It was great. But I unfortunately dig the hipster little coffee places. So I'm like, oh, near where we're staying, this is a cool little coffee place. I walk over to it and I notice the hate has no home sign, intolerance not accepted here, Black Lives Matter, and like one other one. They had every flag you could possibly think of but the American flag.
Mm-hmm.
And I leaned over to who I was with and said, just so you know, everybody in this place will be white. And we walked in, and everybody, the second we walked in, everybody turns to us because they're hipsters and they need to know if somebody cooler is coming in. Lucky for them, it was just me. But yeah, everyone working, the baristas, people working back of house, all the customers. I just knew it because no one else would have all these signs up to demonstrate their morality, I guess you could call it, but the signs they'll all read differently in a year or two.
It's so funny because Chicago is the city where Noah Rothman's new book, points out a lot of eateries that had to shut down. Because you're right, the white wine mob, yoga pants mob from Lincoln Park decided that a food truck that sold Mexican food had to be owned by Mexicans, or else it had to be shut down. And they love these food trucks, but they scared them away. They crushed the businesses, even though they enjoy this thing. So why is it worth that?
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. People putting new requirements on themselves. And I really think you've always had a strain of Puritanism in America from New England, from our founding. And when people kind of unmoored that from the faith that created that movement, they still have that instinct. They just don't know exactly where to apply it. So they find new people to root out and to point out they're the bad people, they're the infidel, and they just rush with it. But what's very confusing for those of us who don't live by those rules is they just change constantly. You cannot keep up with it. And anybody being praised today, will be canceled next year because the rules constantly change and they will be considered bad people very soon. There's something they did that they don't even know is wrong yet.
Yeah, of course it is. And it's interesting. I said to a relative one time when the tearing down statues was happening, and in Boston, we tore down a statue of Lincoln recently because that was too problematic.
Not just Lincoln, a statue of Lincoln
bought
by
freed slaves. Right.
Right.
So,
yes. But what would they know?
So,
Yeah.
So I asked like somebody I knew, and I said, who was like all for taking down the statues, and I was like, what is the limiting principle? Like, can you tear down a statue of Obama because he got elected saying marriage is between a man and a woman? And she was like, I don't know, I'd be willing to listen to the argument. And it's like, okay, well, there you go.
Right.
Like, no, you can never win. There's never a limiting principle. You can always cancel the person from yesterday, because it's not just that people right now have to always change to keep up. It's that we're going backwards into the past and expecting people from the past retroactively to be able to keep up.
Yeah, exactly. And we cancel people who are far greater than ourselves because they didn't toe the line. I might get yelled at for not putting the right emoji on my Twitter account. What could poor Thomas Jefferson know about what these new rules were? And then they'll find out, well, I don't think he supported Ukraine back when he was let's cancel him. It's like, okay, guys, calm down a little bit. He was better than us, and they had different rules they were playing by.
But how did they feel about gas stoves?
Does this whole world of the canceling and the virtue signaling, does that exist without social media?
I think social media intensifies it a whole bunch because it's rapid reaction and often by people who just don't know the issue. If I had an opinion on trying to think, a new government in Brazil, and the only people I would talk with were people who kind of knew something about it, even if they totally disagreed with me, we would probably have a more rational conversation. But when it's just these instant hot takes and somebody say they're a Democratic partisan and they found out, oh, wait, gas stoves are bad? Okay, ban them all. And they will fight to the death if you oppose them on this. It's like, you never even talked about this issue until Monday. What is going on? And it's kind of like they received the update to their operating system and they're like, okay, I can't light gas ovens now. Whether they have one or not, they're going to be a crusader against them until the next issue comes up.
Of course. And I think so I'm an Orthodox Christian, as you are, and some of the people in our chat are and stuff too. And I think that's like one thing that irks people about Orthodox Christianity, but like I really like is that it's super slow to change. And doesn't adjust for anything, which kind of, when you get to this hockey player, I mean, they will change things, but like over a course of hundreds of years, they'll slowly adjust things as they go, not like, this week we're into this. So that's kind of what I find interesting about the hockey player story, is he's really not doing anything that would have been unacceptable like 10 years ago, right?
Right.
And it's not that he's a bigot, or that Orthodox Christianity has changed or become bigoted or mean. It's that everything else has changed and he's stood still, and he's somehow in trouble now for it. And I mean, they're talking about like finding the team.
Yeah, and that's something that appealed to me about it, because I'm just a convert. I'm been Orthodox a couple of years now, but I came from kind of a more evangelical background. Love all those people. Most of my friends still fit that characterization, but it was weird because going to a service 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, all different songs, all different terminology being talked about. Everything was changing constantly. And I saw these people. It's like, wow, you got to really update your sermons there, Padre. And he's like, yeah, this one was written in 200 or something. Like, okay, I guess I got to just shut up and learn something for a change. But yeah, just staying still and staying true to yourself, as this hockey player did, is reason for people to yell at you about those things. But I just think in general, that merits a kind of respect, even once again, if it's someone who has totally diametrically opposed ideas to me. It's just like, look, that's how they see things, and they're standing up for it. And I will, even if I disagree with them, I will grudgingly admire them for being a stick in the mud and just saying, darn it, no, I'm not changing.
Well, and also I think that the new pride flag and pride itself, it's no longer contained to Stonewall was bad and men shouldn't go to jail for loving each other. It's got a universe of stuff from, we need to allow 14-year-old girls to have top surgeries to, the whole swath of things. So, and maybe that's the idea. Maybe that's the way they want you to be forced to, wear the ribbon, because that means you accept the entire universe. But it's not reasonable.
Right. And that's what's actually amusing with my friends, family members who are gay. They're seeing this and they're like, wait, what do I got to believe in now? Like, I just wanted to mind my own business and have people leave me alone. And now it's just like, I can't even keep up with this stuff. And, might be a gay male or something like that. It's like, I can't follow all this stuff. How are you supposed to follow it? So it's, they're even kind of shrugging their heads at this stuff and how rapidly things are changing around them. And I'm sorry, I don't have the mental effort to keep up with all the new pieties of the day. So I'll just stick with the old ones, and they're just going to have to deal.
We go in my radio show in Connecticut. We just talked today. There's a new that we've come full circle. Just speaking of the things changing, they've been on a crusade the last 5 years. Progressives in every town. These people come in to the Board of Education, usually from out of town. They went to the University of Chicago or whatever. And they come in and they get rid of all the Indian names. So you can't have the Sachems anymore. You can't have even the Tomahawks. You can't have anything. Everything's now the Riverhawks or the Spartans. You can still have those. So now a state rep, a very progressive state rep, has put a bill on the floor which is going to change the name of the river from the Thames, like the Thames in London, but they pronounce it Thames in Connecticut, to the Pequot. Because
wait, how is that allowed?
Right. So suddenly, whiplash. The rules have changed again. Now Sachems are back. Everything's back. It's like, God, pick a side.
It happened about 8 years ago, something like that. But the Washington Post was on its tirade to get the Washington Redskins to change their name to something memorable, like whatever their name is this week, the Commanders.
Right.
But it was funny because they started checking out high schools and colleges around the country that had Indian-related names, and they contacted one. They were deeply offended because their team was the Redskins. The Washington Post reporter didn't realize this was a high school called Red Mesa High on the Navajo Nation. And they said, we are very proud of this because we were called this as sometimes people thought it derogatory, but then we would beat them in battle. And so we took it as a point of honor, saying, hey, look at us. Yeah, we're the Redskins. That's right. Don't you forget it, kind of a thing. And Washington Post was just flummoxed. They did not understand. It's like, don't you silly people understand you're insulting yourselves? And they're like, who the heck are you sitting in your cubicle in Arlington or whatever lecturing us? We live here on the largest reservation in the United States, the largest Indian community. So, yeah, all people are going to be different. And I think if you're in a pluralistic society, I'm just too lazy to try to force my ideas on everybody around me. So I will not take kindly to people trying to force their ideas on me. We can all disagree and get along at the end of the day. And it's past time to push back on the people who demand you got to wear the pride jersey or you have to believe this way or that way about a certain politician. We're going to disagree. And that's what makes America interesting and not like China or something like that.
Right, but there's a lot of people that really don't feel that way. Like when you look at the hockey player thing, there's people that want the team fined for allowing him to play after he wouldn't wear the pride jersey. And obviously there's a whole bunch of people on Twitter who have a lot of opinions about how he shouldn't have been allowed to play and shouldn't, all that stuff. And they really don't want to live in a society with anyone who thinks differently from them.
No, they want him deported as well. But there's another thing. Since the Ukraine thing started, the Boston Marathon disinvited Russians from running. Anybody who's Russian, no, you can't run. It's like so it's the new progressive to be mean to people.
Right. And there were professors who were banning Dostoevsky. Actually, I might right behind me have a Dostoevsky collection over here. But yeah, and it's like I've just read a lot of Russian history and Ukrainian history, and it's like, can you guys just settle it so nobody dies? That would be great with me. But it's just these people who, again, heard about the issue yesterday and said, oh, all Russian people, even great authors or great painters or whatever that lived 100, 200, 300 years ago, we need to punish those guys too. It's like, no, there's people on either side of this, and why don't we just hope everybody can get along a little bit? Hopefully the killing will stop. But since these people just learned about it yesterday, they're utterly intolerant of any opposing opinion. And when I say something like, it would be nice if nobody bombed anyone, Bill, are you a Putin apologist? Like, okay, I don't like Vladimir Putin. I don't understand why he's doing what he's doing. But yeah, there are more than two sides to every issue.
Well, right. And like you say, people don't know a lot about the issues, and these things change and come and go so quickly that it's, it leaves your head spinning. And I think like COVID exacerbated a lot of this because it imbued everything with this concept of public health, which I think is what's going on with the gas stoves and like a lot of the climate change stuff is like, if you don't go along with this, you're literally killing people.
Right.
And that's sort of been extended now from COVID to all these other fields. And I think that people who think that way, like, feel more empowered than ever to be like, you don't believe science. You are killing people. You're holding us all back. And, we did, obviously, during COVID, we talked about it all the time, how people would write these blog posts. You won't get vaccinated. You won't do this. You're killing all these people. It's because of you that we can't have nice things and be like Australia where nobody died. And, the level of anger about it, I feel like has just like gone up since COVID, and it hasn't gone down again.
Yeah, it really hasn't. It's kind of like the ratcheting effect where it keeps going up, but it doesn't have any mechanism to kind of let out steam or anything like that. And I think a lot of people at the time, now we're all just trying to move on and, oh, well, some mistakes were made, but whatever. But these strict restrictions really hurt a lot of people.
Yeah.
I was someone, my daughters have now just graduated. Both of them have just graduated high school. But yeah, they had to deal with the lockdowns. They had to deal with graduations being canceled, their friends not being able to start at a college because, the campus is shut down. So it's just very maddening for a lot of people. And you just, if you're going to address something like a pandemic, it affects economics, it affects health. It affects things like me having to put off a cancer screening for a year because it was unhealthy for me to get that done in March of 2020. And it's like, okay, this just doesn't make sense. I had a friend who, thankfully, everything was fine, but he didn't have a small cancerous growth diagnosed and he had to get it removed via surgery. It's just like, okay, there are trade-offs to every action that you take, folks. And this kind of all or nothing policy of everybody just lock themselves at home and use DoorDash or Grubhub. Everybody can't do that. And then, of course, you have all the workers working for Grubhub, let's say, who are the ones exposing themselves. If they're able to expose themselves, maybe more of us are as well. If you're really in danger, protect yourself. But the rest of us have to go about living.
That's such a good point that some people couldn't afford to do it. But once again, people in suburban couples in Cambridge, Massachusetts, or West Hartford, Tony areas, big progressive areas, they had no problem staying at home and getting DoorDash, etc.
Right.
So once again, it's somebody else's compelling their neighbors to into some kind of harm or discomfort. It's like, when I'll get back to it.
Yeah. I remember a friend of mine who lived in Cambridge, actually, in like late March or early April of 2020, saying to me, I don't understand who's still getting COVID. How are people still getting COVID? We haven't left the house at all. And I'm like, well, how are you getting stuff though? Like,
yeah, exactly. There's a lot of people who can't just lock themselves in. And then I remember writing March 2020 for the local paper here, just about, okay, we got to ease up here because once again, there are trade-offs here and we have to have some common sense here. But every winter since then, since everything unlocked everywhere, when I get a cold, it's like I'm sleeping for 2 days instead of just like having sniffles for a couple days. And everybody in my family will get the flu, and it's way worse than it used to be. And it's like, yeah, because we just, even if we didn't lock ourselves down, a lot of other people did. And so you don't have these weird viruses and bugs popping around, and all of us get a little bit of immunity to it. Instead, everybody was locked away. So I know friends of mine, like in California, it's been much worse for them because their kids come home with a cold after the first day of school, and it's like the Andromeda strain or something because
right.
no
And
one has any immunity.
The schools treat it, every cold, like it's, so dangerous. If your kid has a sniffle at school, they have them in a mask again, or they send them home and they can't come back for 5 days without a negative COVID test. And it's like on and on. And then they have all these absences from school with kids who are already way behind. It's just, it's so damaging. And the policies just like, they don't stop. It's like the stuff at the airports after 9/11. It's, even though we know that making everyone take off their shoes at the airport isn't like doing anything, like at this point, like we're just all still doing it because we started to do that. So now we just do that now. Like they always add more. Right. It always ratchets up and never works backwards.
Yeah, it's very true. It just, once again, this ratcheting effect where they seize a bit of control and never want to give it up. And we all need to push back on that.
Yeah, well, in the like shoe thing happened because of the shoe bomber who was stopped by citizens. Like the government didn't screen him out. It's like all this stuff. Most of these, people are stopped by citizens now, but they act as if it's them doing it. You talked at the top. You mentioned a lot of people in lieu of religion have this drive, this activist streak, this pilgrimage that they go on. But how about a lot of people who just are cowed by progressives? We've got friends who were like forced to do the Black Lives Matter thing, and they're like, okay, and they did the fist and stuff, and they put it on Instagram because you had to.
Yeah.
Is the lack of religion in their lives, is that why they have no firewall and they're susceptible to being bullied?
I think that might be part of it. And also, it's one of those things where it's just a tiny thing. Who really cares? I just don't want to be hassled about things. So, they will just kind of go along because it's like, look, I'm just trying to do my job and I don't want to be hassled. So if I just kind of knuckle under to this one little thing, who cares? I just want to go about my life. And I think that's most of the people who do that. But the problem is, it's just every month something new will be required of you. And before you know it, you won't even know what you believe anymore. So some point, you really got to just say, okay, I'm done. This is enough already. And it'll probably go fine. It's not going to be publicized. We're all in our own little worlds. But just a few people pushing back, I think, can make a big difference.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They always go after you. It doesn't like stop because you do one thing. Like nobody invites me and Tom to the Black Lives Matter protest because they know like we haven't given them anything to make them think that we're going to be at the Black Lives Matter protest. So they don't invite us. But like, we did have friends that got a text that were like, you're going to be there, right? And then they have to go. But then it's like, then you're going to have to be at the next thing. You're going to have to be at the drag queen story hour or whatever. Exactly. And so it doesn't stop until you stop it. And there are places like we kind of live in an area where it's a little more rural and pretty chill, but more in the cities like the Cambridges and the Somervilles and stuff around us, it's you will, like, if you're a parent of kids, you will find it difficult and your kid not invited to the birthday parties and stuff if you don't go along with all the things. And, we've had that and seen that too. And that can be tough to, like, constantly be excluded, which I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's just a slippery slope. And once you go down it, you kind of need to protect yourself. And if somebody says, well, why aren't you going to be at the protest at Sunday? It's like, I'm actually going to be at church. Do you want to come? And then they'll leave me alone forever.
So, John, I have a question for you that's a different topic. Did you watch the Beatles thing, the Get Back special?
No, I didn't, but everybody said it's wonderful.
I am surprised. You are a deep music lover. It is
right.
But you know what? Or did you not watch it because everybody said it's wonderful? Because that, to me,
that's
was a
probably
big red
why
flag.
I have this hipster genetic problem where it's just like, oh, everybody's watching that? Well, I'm going to watch this other thing that nobody likes because it's terrible.
Yeah, no, I've always liked that about your podcast. It's hearing some new music that it's like, I don't know where you find this stuff, but I would guess I would call it alt when I was younger, but
yeah. I've just always, and excuse any clicking noise you hear, Calvin the Wonder Beagle might think there's food somewhere, so he's going to be roaming around in the background. But yeah, I just I've always liked it. I always found out about it. My older brother was into cool music, and I think in my teens, I tried to impress him by finding the most obscure stuff. And finally, by the time, I don't know, we were in our late 20s, he's like, stop sending me stuff already. This is just weird at this point. So I've just always had a knack for finding out something new and innovative and something good out there.
John, I got to tell you, we were thrilled to have you again. I don't think we've gotten more feedback than about having anybody else than having you.
Oh wow, that's nice to hear.
Jon Gabriel, you should be listening to the Undisputed King of Stuff podcast. He's the editor-in-chief at Ricochet and writes for the Arizona Republic. John, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. Let's check in again down the road.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
All right, Alice, we will go to the... Thank you, Alice. What a pleasant guy, isn't he?
He's great. He's the best.
Anything we forgot? It kind of really seems like it went really fast.
Yep, flew by.
Well, no, I mean, it seems like it went really fast.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. What are you trying to say?
Because it just seems like it went...
Okay, it went really fast.
It was at 20 minutes, like, quickly.
Okay, 27 minutes and back.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Wow, he's a great guy. Okay. So, wait, okay, we've got some breaking news here, Alice.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Breaking news? Mm-hmm.
Not really breaking news. Although, what's his name is dead from...
Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Yes, correct. Which is... No comment. So, this is my thing. Guess what?
What?
A revelation at Five Dragons today.
Oh, man.
As we were heading in there it was, down the hall. I gave someone my seat, by the way, because I'm a good person, Alice. I'm going to heaven. So I gave somebody my seat, and so I was back outside, out in the hall. Guess who I see at the end of the hall approaching? Guess.
The good-looking guy from Karate.
My guy, exactly. So he's approaching. This time I decided to stand my ground, because before I've hidden from him. Now I decide I'm going to see if he says hi again. And he comes up to me, and as he's walking past, I shouldn't say he came up to me. He was just trying to get out, and I was standing in the way. And he said, yeah, I listened to the podcast. That's why I'm the karate guy. And I said, that's fantastic. He listens to the podcast. His name is Brian.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. So there's that mystery. He's a fan. I wish I wasn't talking about how good looking he was in the past. I didn't know that we'd have a face-to-face, But there you go. That is done. I know who he is. He has been ID'd as friend.
That's great.
So I got a picture with him, too. I don't want to ruin his life just in case the picture gets into the certain nefarious hands. So it's been too close to the KMS hit to...
People have inquired if he's single to me.
Really? Well, Brian, let us know. You need to leave a message on the chat, Brian. If you go to...
burnbarrelpodcast.com, there's a red button that looks like it's an ad or going to give you a virus or something.
Well, I don't know if he's single because he's at least got a kid in karate.
Yeah.
He's got... But it's possible.
Yeah. So
there you go. The other thing is this. There is, in my son's class, there is a boy who has I don't know if you call them arm braces or crutches, but something the things that you
Yeah.
put your arm in that helps you walk. Have you seen
Right.
this guy?
I don't think I have, but on the days that I've gone.
Right.
Okay.
And this kid, this is a remarkable thing. This kid Alice has, we believe, a virus, undisclosed. She's lost all taste. She's got a wet hacking cough. Her lungs, like needles are in them. And she's sleeping in the prone position. So you figure it out. But she's not going to get tested. But there you go. I would suggest you stay away from Alice Shattuck, anybody out there, for the next time being. But anyway, this kid he's doing karate with all the other kids.
Right.
And obviously he's a little bit disabled because he's using these crutches, and so he like runs with the crutches, and he does everything else the other kids don't do. But this kid, falls a lot. Boom, falls right on the mat. Boom. And so like while they're running, he'll fall. Sometimes it makes a smack. And the kid doesn't complain, keeps a smile on his face, and gets right up. Did I say this already?
No.
And gets right up.
That's
and like he
cool.
never complains. Some of the stuff is very hard for him to do. Some of the stuff he's got no problem. The kid never gives up. He never complains. Sometimes he's just collapses in place because he's lost his balance and this and that. Sometimes they're running and he loses his balance. But he tries on everything, and doesn't. Like I said, there are kids, and I've had our kid before, who complain and have their feelings hurt if they don't win a game, or if whatever, they're just having a bad day. Some kids have been kind of gone side. It happens.
Of course.
In karate, there's some discipline in there as well. This kid, once again, never, not one complaint ever, smile on his face, continues, does his best. Let me tell you something. I know that my money's been confiscated by FanDuel in New Hampshire. If I were a betting man, I would say that this kid is going places.
Yeah, no kidding.
If you have that kind of character as a little boy, where you brush off setbacks and you get back up and jump on the horse and keep trying again, it's awesome. This kid is an inspiration. I wanted to say something nice to his parents, but I'm like, just leave him alone. But it's awesome to see. It's like people, you could certainly learn from it. And some of the falls, I'm like, oh man, that's bad. And just boom, dust it off, right back up. Am I weird?
No, I think it's awesome.
Okay, good. I think it's awesome too. Okay, I just wanted to get to this Pequot thing again. Where's my phone?
Okay.
Because the state rep in Connecticut who wrote the bill, the Pequot bill. I reached out to get him on the
radio.
To get him on the radio. His name is Rep Nolan. Tonight at 5:00, I reached out to him at 9:20 in the morning. Tonight at 5:00, his press department supervisor, for you really need one
How
of those.
do state reps have
I
press
know.
department
I know.
supervisors? I don't understand.
She got a hold of me. Hey, Tom. No, I didn't assume he'd come on.
Right.
So this is the guy who's changing the name from Thames to Pequot.
Right.
Hey, Tom, unfortunately, Rep Nolan is unable to set up an interview, but I can provide this statement. Unable to set up an interview. How about tonight, tomorrow, next day, next week?
Nope,
next
never.
month?
He
No.
can't. He's not going
Unable
to.
to.
His schedule as a state rep with his staff that has a press department supervisor. His schedule is too packed with the pressing matters affecting one of the tiniest states in the country to be able to figure out how to do a 10-minute radio hit.
Right. But I can provide this statement. Here's the statement. Quote, our state had a significant history prior to the Europeans' arrival, and I believe through this change we can return a piece of history that was taken away. Connecticut's 5 tribal nations are a significant part of the state's past and present, and in building on their land, we have had responsibility to honor their contributions and preserve a past that was erased. Well, what about sachems? While there has been numerous suggestions in regards to this name change from residents, I look forward to the conversations about the logistics of this potential change, and I believe it to be essential that we return the river's true history before it's forgotten. Return the true history. So this can't be Thames anymore because the English rebranded it. This one has to go back.
Right. But the Sachems
Which the colonizers rebranded.
has to be rebranded to something more white sounding.
Riverhawks. Right, exactly.
Okay. Just so we're clear.
I'm not. So the rules have absolutely changed.
The what river? Riverhawks.
Right, exactly. And by the way, I am pretty sure that in 1607, nobody was saying Pequot River. I get the feeling the Pequots never said Pequot River.
Probably not.
I get the feeling the Pequots never said Pequot.
Probably.
It's freaking remarkable. Remarkable. I'm all for it because it's patently absurd, but absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, no kidding. A lot of comments in the chat about the Daily Wire story.
Oh, are they? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
I
this
think
came
Crowder has come out with a new podcast tonight, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, so, I mean, so Crowder came out with this thing, and he didn't originally say it was Daily Wire, but everybody guessed that it was the Daily Wire.
Exactly, and Jeremy Boring responded.
And then they confirmed it, basically saying that he was offered a contract by this media company, and as part of the contract, or it was really like a term sheet, but anyway, so he was offered this deal, and as part of the deal, if he got banned off any channel, he would lose like 1% of the revenue, adding up to 110% of the revenue. So he could be losing money on the contract, right? So anyway, he like published this and compared it to slavery and all this stuff and was complaining about it. And then the Daily Wire confirmed that it was them because everybody guessed that it was them anyway. And you know, Jeremy Boring did a video on it and read through the term sheet and whatever. So this was a $50 million deal for 4 years.
Hard for me to feel bad for Crowder.
With the possibility to extend for another 2 years for another $25 million. And with some things locked behind a paywall that would be where he'd be able to say whatever. Right? Behind the paywall. So I mean, I understand people don't love Daily Wire because it's sort of become the establishment now of conservative media because it's just so huge.
You should see, we were looking at the career section.
Yeah,
they're hiring pages and pages of people.
So, but yeah, so, and in Crowder's video, he called them like Big Con is in bed with, you know, big tech and all these people. And I mean, I think there's something to that. I think as things get bigger, there's more of an incentive. You know, if they're offering you $50 million, then it's because they think they're going to make money. And if you get kicked off platforms, they won't make as much money. You know, and like if you're a big company, that's what you're doing, right? So it makes sense from their perspective, which is why, I mean, like, I don't know what Crowder is going to do or where he's going to go. Like you say, it's kind of hard to, you know, feel bad for somebody who's getting offered $50 million.
Well, yeah, and also it's like it's the beginning step of contract negotiations. Boring made it very clear today that that's just step one. You know, he can counteroffer, they can work things out. That was the first term sheet. And Crowder just going online just blew them up. And I think that's crappy. That's sucky of him. I mean, I'll listen to what he says tonight. I know I just saw that it kind of dropped, but
but a lot of people, I mean, like for the most part, what I've seen people saying is they don't love the Daily Wire other than Matt Walsh, like, who's great, like, must listen there, who's being edgy and doing stuff.
Yeah. Well, I subscribe to all of them, actually.
But I mean, how many do you listen to every day, realistically? Like, who do you really regularly listen to?
Probably Shapiro. But I have Jeremy. By the time the weekend is through, I will have listened. And Clavin, I listen to every week. And what's his name? Michael Knowles.
Michael Knowles.
Like he'll be like the third tier. And Walsh, I just started listening to.
Yeah.
But Shapiro probably. I used to listen to him every day. He's kind of been, since I have less time, he's kind of been surpassed by commentary.
Yeah, a lot of people like don't love Shapiro though.
Yeah, I understand that not everybody would love him. I mean, it's you know, it's. But
yeah, so it is a debate. I mean, like, I get the thing about Daily Wire, like why people don't love it as an organization. Even
you do?
though, I mean, like, I get it.
By the way, Daily Wire, we do not need $50 million. We will take 400,000. Can you start there? Does that work? By the way, I'm willing to negotiate down from there.
So yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, of course, I would work for Daily Wire. I love a ton of the people who are there, but I understand why, you know, people want them as a big guy to kind of stand up for people's right to say stuff, you know, and I think the vibe from the Crowder thing is that they won't.
They're just protecting themselves in case he gets them shut down because he's always getting.
Yeah, because he's more edgy than they are, possibly. But maybe he's just not the best fit for their organization.
Well, maybe, but geez, he doesn't have to blow them up. I mean, that's why maybe he's not.
Morgan says they should offer him a box of hot sauce.
I mean, the Crowder show is good. I used to listen to that religiously too when it was weekly. I think when his lawyer was on it. It is good, but it is. I mean, Crowder goes there. Do you ever listen at all?
Yeah, I mean, and I see his stuff that goes viral that upsets people, like when he made fun of Carlos Maza, that like
sure, but he makes fun of
guy, and when he did the like Sesame Street black people thing about the melanin or whatever, like, you know, he does go there, and he is somebody who will risk you getting banned off platforms.
We should try to get him on. I wonder if he'd come on. Probably not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm happy. I just got my rejection email from the Daily Wire. We're trying to get Knowles on. I'd been blown off. Or I don't even know if I'd been blown off. Somebody, I think maybe they've changed the booker person, but at least, but we're on the back burner for him to come back. Okay. But I would no. Knowles is great to talk to. Have you talked to him?
No.
He's great to talk to, and you talked to Matt Walsh, and I'd love to talk to Shapiro. Obviously, he's tough to get. And actually, Cleveland we can get, I'm pretty sure. And I had a great interview with him. He's a really fun guy to talk to. And also a Christian guy who you might have an interesting conversation with. Mm-hmm. Should we do the Chelsea Fire Wicked Hot Sauce?
Yes.
Anything else we're missing?
There was one more thing I wanted to bring up, which is, where was this? The Supreme Court thing. That they've announced that they can't figure out who did it. They have 80 suspects and they can't narrow it down. Can't be done. They don't know where it came from.
I know. Pathetic. If they can't, then they need to change the
who has access to these things.
Oh,
and so narrow it down so that you can figure out who did it, because otherwise, if you say that, now everything's going to be leaked.
Well, of course it is. And you had people, trying to kill justices.
Right.
None of that, but it certainly upset the apple cart as far as the election went. It probably helped the Democrats much more than we ever thought it would, a year ago, whatever. So, it's BS. It's BS. Of course they're going to go back to this. This is the new winning route for Democrats, like early voting.
Right.
The Supreme Court leaking is what we do now.
Yeah. So that was the last thing I wanted to touch on. Now we can do the Chelsea Fire Wicked Hotline chat, which Leslie has noticed, by the way, that you haven't put her audio on.
I just haven't found time. I'll look into it. I got to listen to it again.
But since I have we're not sure if it's COVID, I'm almost as raspy as Leslie. So
I do like her raspy voice. You need to do a Weekend 180 spot. You saw that, right?
Okay, I will.
Okay. Appeal to women.
Do you want it raspy or do you want it regular?
No, it's for women. Okay. I want you to appeal to women, and I want you to tell them how it's made your life better in ways that will make women call them up and get on the program.
Okay, well, it has made my life better.
It has, and I know it has. And so use whatever women speak. Speak women whisper so that those phones get ringing.
Okay, I will.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
We need an open and produced open, and we can even billboard it, and we can even put Leslie's lines in there if the quality's good. All right.
So I heard Jerry Artemis Callahan say that Tom Brady has never had any real controvery.
Yeah.
My jaw hit the damn floor when I heard that.
Indiana, right?
You do know his business partner was selling fake cancer drugs.
Yes, and fake COVID drugs.
How can you say that he has never had any controversy?
Well, I just don't.
Not completely true.
I mean, that whole line of stuff.
What a Brady cheerleader.
I think that he's not had a controversy. Like, he hasn't dragged a girl he just beat up out of an elevator. He stays away from that stuff. Is he selling shill scam stuff? Absolutely he is. The TB12 stuff. And he did.
But so are a lot of people.
Oh yeah. But I think he probably believes it because he's a little bit nuts.
I was scrolling through the website for Odyssey to find Tom's show during the day yesterday, and I saw that they have some old photo of him up there. I think it's a Herald photo.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not very flattering. The
I-
both of you need to update your photos, even on the home page for the burn barrel,
I know.
because you're both very slender now.
Dr.
True.
Cheswick, to be honest, I don't know. That was a pretty thin picture of me, don't you think? Alice? Oh, no, they took new photos. Oh, okay. They took new photos in the... No. If it's the Herald one, the one where I... Like the same photo shoot where I slung the microphone over my shoulder for some reason. Then
Yeah,
some
that's a weird one.
phallic wink. Hey, so you know what I'm into. I'll check that out. But I don't think I'm that much thinner than that. But I do think I've lost weight, actually, Alice. I think I'm back on since we've figured out what's
You're
going on.
back in fat burn?
I think I'm back in Pepper.
And I think it would behoove you both to get the new pictures out there. You know, gain some traction with the kids. Also, I was surprised to learn that Tom's favorite Halloween outfit is Fat Guy in a Little Coat.
You know what that is, Alice?
No. Is that from yesterday's show?
No, that is Chris Farley
Oh.
and David Spade. Farley actually used to do that joke to Spade. He used to, when they shared an office at SNL, he used to put on Spade's jacket and do that and just sing that song, which I know from listening to the Spade Dana Carvey podcast.
Fat Guy in a Little Coat. That made me very happy. Alice, I hope you're feeling better. And
Kind of.
as a doctor, I would like to tell you both that whenever I turn on my gas stove, I turn on all 4 burners and the oven,
Oh, no.
even just to boil a pot of water, and I make my kids stand in the kitchen and breathe it in.
Good.
Best.
We all
Good
get
to
a
know.
pitch in for this thing.
You
Thanks
don't want to
so
turn on
much.
the hood either, right?
You're welcome. You know, I was saying that I don't know if you know that I went before Alice, before you. I went to a Halloween party as Dwight Schrute, but
Oh.
everybody thought I was Chris Farley.
No.
It's not good. That's not
I'm
great.
sorry.
All right.
Hey, Tom and Alice.
Hey.
Hey.
Just a quick couple of comments, and I'll start with the first ever Ask Me Anything segment
Hey.
on the burn barrel. In other words,
Have you listened to last night's
I
episode?
haven't yet.
What have you? You've listened to like 6 KMSs and not your own husband.
I guess so. I was behind on KMSs.
I heard you laughing over there, like every time Mike said something. It's weird. I had a caller today. From...
I'm also now a fan of the Who Are These Podcasts show.
Oh yeah, we got a shout out there. We should play it sometime. It's kind of a shout out. Well, I think we got kind of burned, but in the least painful possible way. Because when I heard that we were on there, I thought this is gonna hurt. They're gonna zero in on something, but they found something that doesn't really hurt. But you're friends with them now too. Alice, are you ooh, how do I put this? How do I put this? Are you a podcast slut? I don't mean.
You mean I podcast around?
You do podcast around, looking for your name, waiting to get talked about. Oh, who are these?
I
And
think
then you're
part
now
of
you're
this,
now
I
you're
think
instantly
part
like,
of this might be projection a
and
little
now you're
bit from you.
instantly. Well, I am a renowned and established whore, Alice. I lean into every car. I am the worst thing in the world. You lonely sugar. Absolutely. But I mean, you'd expect a little bit more out of. But yeah, who are these podcasts now? You're all into. You're friends with them now. Hi guys. But was that what else? Is that it? Okay.
comments, and I'll start with the first ever Ask Me Anything
Yes.
segment on the burn barrel. In other words, Alice isn't here today. I haven't got a clue. Please, callers, bail me out.
There is absolutely a lot of truth to that. I actually asked Alice while she was on her deathbed to crawl into the room to start the video so I could
I
look
had
at.
to set up the live stream for him.
I wanted to look at the chat. That is absolutely. There's a lot of truth to that, and it was great. They're great to the chat. I think that going back and forth is great content, and we got some very good questions. Some very Danny from Billerica really drilled in on the Alice scandal
really?
questions, which
Really?
are very. I don't think we have.
I'll try and listen.
No, it's about you, Al, so you like it, okay?
I remember the days, Tom, when you used to do it by yourself, and Alice
Mhm.
was just if Alice was passing by the door, she might come in and give us her point of view on this or that. But now it seems that without her, You can't run the show, sir.
Wow.
We miss you, Alice. Hopefully you're feeling better, and
Thank
hopefully
you.
you're back today.
Yeah.
But again, the first ever Ask Me Anything. In other words, I'm clueless. Thanks, guys.
Incorrect. It
Uh-huh.
was over an hour long yesterday without you
Oh,
chirping
wow.
away, without being stepped on. It's funny how much progress I can make.
Okay. Maybe you don't need me anymore.
Well, you're gonna pass anyway because you have what I call SARS-CoV-19.
Okay.
Hey, Tom and Alice. Hey, Alice. I hope you're feeling much better. I
Thank
know
you.
carrying a whole show can be stressful and strenuous and everything. So I
I like
understand
that top.
why you got sick. It's hard
What?
doing a
Wait
whole
a second.
show.
I thought you were talking about me.
This
Do
isn't-
you want to still listen to this message, Alice?
Yeah, let's keep going.
You know, being the anchor. It's rough. I understand.
So true. My immune
Ridiculous.
system is worn down
Ridiculous.
by
That's
how
from
much
your
everyone
college
relies
days.
on me.
Habibis, it's Les.
Hey.
Hi,
I am
Leslie.
so excited to have just learned that my beloved friend, Jon Gabriel, is a guest on your show tonight.
Great
This
guy.
is like my worlds colliding in a fantastic way. Can't wait to hear it. Of course, by the time you play this, he will already have done his spot. I may or may not have snuck into the chat tonight
Ooh.
because this is so special for me. And truly, this has really made my week.
Wow.
And I also want to congratulate you on the several wonderful gets that you all have had for guests in the last month or two, most
Thank you.
notably including that Matt Welch recently, and of course, Noah Rothman. And
Absolutely.
clearly, the best is yet to come for the Burn Barrel podcast. So I just want you to call into the Chelsea Fire Wicked Hotline,
Ooh, that
brought
is
to
nice.
you by the Burn Barrel podcast, to give you all my love. Love you, bye.
Thank you. Thank you very nice. Very, very much. So my feeling is that My feeling is that I want to try to get a guest who we're fans of, who people may know, one a week. And that doesn't necessarily have to be. Some weeks it's better without. Some weeks I don't want to arbitrarily, just say, we're going to have one.
Don't want to force it.
But there are some people that we like talking to and that I want to talk to and that I'd be interested in talking to, that we'd love to have on. And I have a whole bunch of them in my mind. And if they can join us, then absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody, thank you so much. Oh, let me just make sure. Let me make sure nothing came in. No late arrivals, Alice. Let me make sure. No late arrivals. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. As usual, Alice, nice to have you back. You look lovely. I'm sorry that you have SARS-CoV-19.
I know. Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you for all your well wishes. I am indeed feeling slightly better, so I, of course, made it in here if I possibly could.
Did you see
I
the
appreciate
locals picture I put up of you?
We will. I didn't. We will.
You won't be pleased.
Happy. Okay.
It's one of the Clevey ones from yesterday. It's such a great picture.
We will.
Am I in trouble?
We'll be back Sunday.
I'm not in trouble, right?
BurnBarrelPodcast.com.